Good morning. We are here with Greg Grosnick, the Executive Director of Family Promise, and our partner in the agency, Janet Duffy. We're here to shine a light on the community and kind of explain what programs he has to offer. Janet, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks. So I was fortunate enough, Greg was a speaker last week at Exchange Club, and it helped understand how Family Promise has really kind of evolved from where it started. So do you want to share just a little bit about that story?
Sure. So prior to COVID, there were about 200 affiliates, 200 Family Promise affiliates across the country. And typically what was going on before that was they would have a group of churches. We had about between 16 or 18 churches here in Great Falls. And when a family would come into the program, they would be hosted at a church. So that's where they would live for a week. And then they would rotate to a new church and rotate to a new church. And that allowed the churches to be able to get enough volunteers and food and all those kinds of things. So they would typically, so the kids that were school age would go to school and the parents that worked would go to work. And everybody else would come here to this building. This was called the hub, kind of. So in the back we have kind of a really nice big living room area, basically.
And just so everybody knows, we're at Central Christian
Church on 1019 Central Avenue.
Yep. Perfect.
So that was prior to COVID. Was that then after COVID, due to a couple different factors. I would say only about 30% was the last number that I had heard. Only about 30% actually do any type of church rotation model anymore. It has pretty much turned into finding some kind of a building or apartments or something along those lines. So we have our Promise Place shelter here in Great Falls, which is 2 small apartments. That's about a quarter of what we do. So that when we have homeless families that come in, that are a good fit for the shelter, and they can fit in there and everything. They're pretty small. We can put them into the shelter for approximately 90 days. 90 days is kind of our starting point, but with the way things are, the availability of housing and the price of housing and everything, it typically has been going longer than 90 days. But yes, it's an opportunity to get back on their feet and allow them to save up a little bit of money, start trying to get a job, start trying to get a vehicle, get medical things taken care of, get legal things taken care of, all different kinds of things like that. So, and our goal at the end of that 90 days is to get them into permanent housing. And then that's typically where our funding helps a lot, is to help get them in with by paying the deposit or the first month rent or something along those lines.
Yeah, those are pretty insurmountable if you've been
in that situation.
And trying not having a steady income.
So do you work with a lot of the other organizations in the community then?
We do, yes. We do a lot of referrals because what I have learned in my almost 2 years here is just everybody kind of has their own niche. Each agency has kind of its own niche. So being smart on those is one of the best things that, and it's something that we try and do, because when families come in and they might not be a perfect fit for Family Promise, we want to make sure and send them to the right place. And we
make sure they get what they need.
We might be able to help a little bit, and then Salvation Army might be able to help a little bit, or Alliance for Youth might be able to help a little bit. So we very seldom is this kind of like a one agency fits all kind of
scenario.
So Greg, we're really interested in finding out what the points are in the STAR. There are five main areas that you focus on in Family Promise. Can you share what those are?
Sure. So those are eviction prevention, diversion, which is keeping a family somewhere safe and warm, but not necessarily getting them to our shelter. Shelter being the third, and then stabilization would be the fourth, and housing would be the fifth.
So we've talked a little bit about diversion, I think. Tell us about, I'm really interested in the stabilization piece, because once they're in shelter, they're safe. You have limited space though, so what's your goal once you get them there?
Well, this would be my other favorite part about Family Promise is not just working with families when they first come to your door, but our goal is to get them trending upward, get them to permanent housing, and to keep them there, to try and mitigate the roadblocks and the rocks and hurdles and all those kinds of things that will make them end up back at our front door again. That's what we don't want to see. So that is the stabilization piece, and that's what we have really been this year when we wrote for grants and different things. We really were big on the stabilization piece and the housing piece. So stabilization can be any service that we offer, as long as we have case management, a little piece of case management with that. But it can be, if a vehicle breaks down, it can be any hurdle that is going to keep you from being able to make your house payment or your rent payment. So you can kind of think of all those different things: medical bills, death in the family, vehicles.
Loss of job or loss of hours.
Yep, very much so.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that is that stabilization piece, and that's kind of the how we can help financially piece. But we also want to offer some different training and things like that. So we just maybe not quite a year ago, we had Clearwater Credit Union just open up right across the alley from us here, and so we've had a chance to speak with them. Very unique business model, something definitely that I wasn't expecting. They're kind of like we are for credit unions. They're credit union 101. So how do we get you a checking account? How do we start a savings account? How do we build those up a little bit? And how do we maybe start getting a credit card or a loan or something along those lines? So wonderful place for us to work. And they also provide kind of finance 101 training. So again, for us, that stabilization piece, that's a great one.
That's a great partnership.
Yes.
So we're coming to a place where we're running out of time.
Okay.
So we're going to wrap up this segment, but we'd love to come back and just talk a little bit more about what it is that Family Promise might need from the community.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for having us in today.
Yes,
we're going to come back and talk a little bit more in the next segment about what the community can do for you.
Okay.
So anyway, you're doing great work. Keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Please support Family Promise.